Okay, so let's have the brief overview of what we had done in the last session. We had started with the methods to find the cost of equity. Now, equity is the first source of finance we had taken into account, my friend. Here is where the difficulty arises because equity shareholders are many. How would you come to know that what is their expectations? That's why few models were developed by the experts belonging to the finance fraternity, and one of those models, which is quite famous among the people, is the capital asset pricing model used very frequently for the valuation of the shares as well. We'll come to the valuation part in the fourth module, but that is used very extensively. My friends, the first method we had started was the cost of equity was of the capital asset pricing model. You have got the conceptual understanding of it. We'll do the practical sums of it by taking the real life database. Then the second method is the bond yield plus risk premium approach, where instead of the risk-free rate, we were taking the bond yield. The risk-free rate was replaced by the bond yield. Now, how and when the risk-free rate can be replaced by the bond yield? When the markets are perfect, when the regulations are strong, when there are very less uncertainties in the economic situations, political situations, and each every macroeconomic as well as microeconomic indicators which affects the economy at large, if they are stable, then you may take the bond yield as well as the risk-free rate. So that is a second method we had discussed, and the third one we are going to start today is the dividend growth model. Again, very famous among the people belonging to the finance. When it comes to the valuation of the shares, when it comes to setting out the expectations of the equity shareholders, very rational. If I tell you these two approaches, one is CAPM, another one is the dividend growth model. These are the widely two approaches for finding out the expectations of the equity shareholders. Here in this case, my friend, you take into account the past dividend that has been given by a company to the shareholders. You also add the growth rate of the current year, which is expected by the shareholders in the previous dividend they have received. Basically, what is the investment by the shareholders? That is the market price at which they had invested, right? I am taking the market price of that share. Then what was the dividend they had got? The dividend they have received is, say, 15 rupees. And there was a 5% of the growth rate expected for the current year as well. So I am just adding the growth rate of the current year, say 5% of the 15 would be 1.5 divided by 2, so 0.75. So 0.75 rupees is the growth rate expected. Now constantly, forever, I would also be expecting the growth rate in the dividend, and that adjustment needs to be added in terms of G. So say after n number of years, I mean till n number of years, infinity, perpetual life of this company, if I expect 5% of the growth rate increment every point of time, then that growth rate should be added. So basically, last year's dividend D0 in 1 plus G.
Sir,
So
is screen shared?
Not yet? Yes, I have shared my screen. I have shared my screen with all of you. Are you able to see that? How many of you are able to see
Yes,
that?
sir, it is, sir.
Okay,
Okay.
so let me leave and come again.
Yes, yes, please do it. Miss Veronica is saying it's visible. Okay, fine. That happens. The technology comes with various pros and cons. Some people say me that, sir, it is not as effective as the classroom teaching. But personally, as far as this teaching is concerned, no, I have felt that it is more effective than the classroom teaching because here I am able to go more technically. The kind of disturbances you get while there in a physical class, you'll have to कुछ कुछ बच्चों को तो ओ भाई शांति रख ओ भाई शांति रख ओ भाई बैठ जा ओ भाई इधर आ जाओ. In terms of content and knowledge, if you are having the dedication and determination, then I guess you get the better content in this. Anyway, but it comes with the flows as well. So we have got the KE formula where the dividend is the rate of is the expectation they have the previous dividend plus the growth rate of the current year. The current year's growth rate would have been also expected from them, right? So I'm just writing the D1 instead of D0. D0 was the last year's dividend. Then I'm taking the market price of the share. So basically, this is the return they should be expecting. Market price would be the value of their investment right now, and the dividend was the dividend paid last year. You add the growth rate of the current year as well, so it becomes D1. But after this year will be over, I also expect the dividend to grow by certain percentages as the inflation also increases. I would also not be having the constant expectation of the dividend amount, right? The dividend amount should also grow by some percentages. That is called as the growth rate. How to find the growth rate? What is the best rationale to find the growth rate? We'll see that. But say if I have got the growth rate of 5%, then that G would be added over here. So D0 divided by P0 plus G. Try to understand that how to find this G now. Growth. That's very logical process. Say once this profit after tax is arrived, no, then first right to get the dividend is of the preference shareholders. And if there are no preference shareholders, then the entire money is now available to the equity shareholders. As simple as that. So profit after tax would be the earnings available to equity shareholders. Now company has already got the two options, obviously. One option is to either distribute the dividend to the equity shareholder. Another is to retain it for the future maintenance and expansion purposes of the company. So say they have got this profit after tax is the earning of the company, and they have got some number of equity shares. So you divide that earning by the equity number of shares. So you get the earning per share, also called as the EPS, obviously. Now EPS is called as the per share earning available. Now in that you decide that say we want to pay 50% of the dividend, 60%, 40%, 30%. That is entirely up to a company, right? They have set some clear cut expectations for the future. They want to utilize this money further for their business expansion and growth. And at the same time, they want to satisfy the expectations of the equity shareholders as well in terms of dividend. So say they come up with a 50% ratio. That means if your EPS is 10 rupees, then 5 rupees would be paid as dividend, right? and remaining 5 rupees will be kept as retained earnings. Now, I can also identify from this that what is the dividend payout ratio and what is the retention ratio. Out of 10, if you pay 5, then dividend payout ratio comes out at 550%, right? Similarly, the retention ratio comes out at 50%. So there can again be a formula for the retention ratio, which will be 1 minus dividend payout ratio. That is also retention ratio, yes or no? 1 minus dividend payout ratio. That is also been written over here. So first you get the dividend per share, you get the earning per share. From that you decide what is the dividend payout ratio. Then you find what is the retention ratio. Now try to think rationally from the investor's perspective. Company has kept some retained earnings with them. Then what should be my growth rate expectations from the company? I would say to the company that, see, you have kept 50% of my money with you, which should anyway distributed to me because I am the equity shareholder. But if you are not distributing that to me in terms of dividend, that's okay. You may keep that with you. That's called as the retained earning ratio, retention ratio as well. The money which I was supposed to get, you are keeping with you. Okay, fine, understood. But what you will be earning from that money? Company would say that, see, our return of investment on that money is say 10%. Then I would say it's okay. Whatever the money that you have kept with you, which I was supposed to receive, on that I am expecting 10% of the return. So that should be my growth rate expected for the future. Try to understand it logically. I do not want to fit it in a formula manner in your mind here. The 50% of the money that the company has kept with them. Why? Because they want to expand further in their business or for some other purposes, to buy the assets or to pay off the obligations, whatever the case it would be. On that, if the company earns 10%, that is my growth rate. So my growth rate formula is retention ratio multiplied by return on investment of company. If the retention ratio is say 50%, I'm writing it in the decimal, and return on investment is say 10%, then if you multiply that, then the growth rate turns out to be 5%, 0.05. So that is my growth rate expectation perpetually. Now, obviously, that will keep on getting changed on year-to-year basis. Next year, it would be different based on the dynamics and fundamentals of the next year. Again, in the next to next year, it would differ based on the dynamics and fundamentals of that year. So that is the dividend growth model. Dividend per share, here we'll be doing the per share calculation. Dividend per share, add the current year's dividend in that, so it becomes D1. Add current year's growth rate in the dividend of the last year, so it becomes D1 to be divided by the P0, which was the market price, plus some growth rate which the shareholder would be expecting perpetually in the company's growth. Now, what is the mechanism to find the growth rate? That is nothing but the retention ratio multiplied by the return on investment made by the company. Now, retention rate, you people are aware that it is 1 minus dividend payout ratio. Is this formula logically clear, first of all, everyone? Confirmation from the students, please. Till now, is everyone getting it? Received it from Mr. Dhruv and Mr. Jaydev. Others are waiting for your confirmation, please, all of you. We'll be working on some real life practical database as well, just coming to that. Okay, good. Thank you so much. Let's move ahead now. That was the third method to find the rate of return expectations of the equity shareholders. The fourth method is the earning price ratio method, which is the last method. Not very famous, but still some of the people believes that, see, whether you distribute the dividend to equity shareholder or not, that is altogether a different matter. The earning available to equity shareholder, no, that you should take into account to set out the expectations. So they are expecting the entire EPS only. Now, they are thinking from the investor's perspective that it really does not matter whether they get the dividend or not, because ultimately, if they do not get the dividend, then that money will remain with the company. And if that money will remain with the company, then company's reserves and surpluses would be boosted, right? And if the company's reserves and surpluses are good, then ultimately there would be a positive signal sent to the investors in a long period of time that company's fundamental situation is good. Company is holding a good amount of cash. Company is holding the good amount of reserves and surpluses. So fundamentals right on the face of the financial statements gets improved if the company keeps some money. And if the fundamental gets improved, then ultimately the investors get the increment in market price. So as an investor, sometimes the investors would be like, say, if I get the dividend right now, or I get the incremental amount in the market price after some point of time, there is no difference between the two. So ultimately, what is the amount of dividend I am getting? That is not at all material. That's where I should not focus. I should focus straight away on the EPS, earning per share. And from that, what is the amount of dividend distributed and what is kept with the company? That does not matter to me, because they have got a different perspective to believe. So in the numerator, they have taken EPS, the entire EPS, rather than bifurcating that to dividend per share or the retained earning per share. They have taken out the gross EPS divided by the market price multiplied by the 100. That is the expectations of the equity shareholders. I feel that is a more logical and rational approach, but still not very famous among the investors as well as the people belonging to finance. There are few reasons behind it. One reason is that, see, you assume fundamentally that uh, the dividend income and the increment in market price both are same, but they may not be treated equally by the equity shareholders. Some people would prefer to receive the dividend instead of getting the incremental market price. Why? Because they have got some expectations in terms of income on a regular frequent basis. Another issue can be, see, the dividend income and the increment in market price both would be treated differently from the taxation perspective. Increment in market price would be having a different kind of the taxation rate, and dividend might have a different taxation rate. And if there is a discrimination between the tax rate for dividend income and for the increment in market price, then investors will be more inclined towards an option where he gets more taxation benefit. So investors might not look at in a same manner equivalently when it comes to dividend income and the increment in market price income. Dividend might have the shareholder might have his own set of expectations on it. That's why this earning price ratio approach may not be very feasible in a long period of time for valuation of the shares and to know that what is the expected rate of return of shareholders. I hope you are getting this point. Expected EPS including the growth rate divided by the share price multiplied by the 100. That is the earnings price ratio approach. Now we'll be taking one sum of capital asset pricing model. As far as this pen paper examinations are concerned, that would be straight away given to you like beta of the security say 1.2, risk free rate is say 10 percentage, and the return from market is say 15 percentage. Then find the cost of equity. A 1 or 2 mark of question can be there straight away. So you would be just like 10 percentage risk free rate plus beta 1.2 in bracket 15 percentage minus 10 percentage. So equal to 10 plus 1.2 multiplied by 2. So 2 multiplied by 1.2, and whatever the answer you get, you will be adding that in a 10%. That is the expected rate of return of shareholders as per the CAPM. But I do not want to keep you guys limited to this just a theoretical knowledge of beta and return on from market and risk free rate and all. Let's find the beta of Reliance Industries Limited from the return of Reliance as compared to the return of Nifty. Market will be taken as the Nifty, which is basically the stock market indicator for the overall market movement. Nifty consists of the 50 companies, which are the top 50 companies in terms of the market capitalization in India. Those 50 companies forms a part of the Nifty. And in terms of their market capitalization, all of them would be affecting the Nifty differently, right? Those who have got the tremendous market capitalization, they will be affecting Nifty the more. And those who have got the smaller amount of market capitalization, they will be affecting Nifty less. So Nifty I'm considering as the market return, and the security we are taking right now is the Reliance. So all of you will be opening the Excel file. We are going to do that in the Excel file. We'll be finding the rate of return from Reliance, rate of return from Nifty. We'll find the beta of Reliance with Nifty, and accordingly, we will try to see what is the expected rate of return of Reliance shareholders from now. Can I have the confirmation that you are ready with your Excel file, all of you? Shall I wait for 1 or 2 minutes to arrange the laptop? Received it from Mr. Jaidev and Hemali. This task would be involving some exercises, so please be ready with that. That's my humble request, that you should be carrying the laptop right now, else you will be missing this, please. You won't get it just by listening to it. There would be many other things involved in that. Others, those who haven't brought the laptop, please arrange it. I'm waiting for 1 minute. Now you people would be like, sir, why you are finding the expectations of the equity shareholders to know the cost of equity? See, what is the expectations of equity shareholders? That is basically the cost to company, right? Yes or no? So that's why it is the cost of equity. Okay, let's move ahead. I'm opening one Excel file where we'll be doing this. CAPM Reliance. Okay, so first we'll be finding the market price of the Reliance, and accordingly we'll find the return from the Reliance on a monthly basis. We'll be finding the beta on a monthly basis. I'm taking you to the share price of Reliance. Everyone will do it along with me, please. You will be searching the prices of the Reliance from investor.com either, or Yahoo Finance, I guess, would be better one. Let's search it from the Yahoo Finance. So Yahoo Finance historical data of Reliance. This is how you'll be searching in your Google. Please search it. And the first one I have got, I'm just clicking over there. Now I'll be finding the monthly return. So the CAPM return also will be monthly in nature, right? We are finding it on monthly basis. You may take the daily beta as well. You may take the yearly beta as well. If it is yearly, then you will have to find the yearly return from Reliance instead of monthly return. We are following the monthly uh, time frame right now. So beta will also be monthly. So what should I do is, here in the frequency, instead of daily, I'm putting it monthly. So month-wise data I will get. For how many number of months? Let's get it for 6 months. So here in the time period, I'm just changing over there and going to the 6 months, 6M. So that stands for the 6 months. And in the frequency, I'm selecting monthly instead of daily or weekly, which is given to us. Then just press apply over here. So you have got the monthly prices in a descending order. Okay, so I'm just copying that text, including this volume and everything. Just select whatever the values you have got right from the first to the last one. Control C. Then I'll go to that Excel file, and here please do not press Control V. ये वो दमल जैसा हो गया, वो लाल बटन दिख रहा है, हाँ दिख रहा है, प्रेस कर दिया, प्रेस नहीं करना था. Do not press Control V because we want to take it in a values. I guess if you'll be pressing Control V, then formats and everything would get pasted. So I'm just going to the paste special, Alt HVS, and using this second option of Unicode text. So rest everything formatting and that has been done in that website. That will be removed. So pressing OK. So this is how I'll do that. And the last price is the closing price. F column stands for the adjusted closing price. Closing price and adjusted closing price would be same, but you may take this one. Rest everything you may just delete. I do not require this statement at all. Deleting that. Volume is also not required. We are supposed to find the rate of return from the Reliance on a monthly basis. So from that we'll be able to find the beta, which is nothing but the regression coefficient. So I'm deleting this volume, that is also not required. Rest all prices are not required. Opening, closing and everything not required at all. Deleting that. Only the closing prices would be required. And then, my friend, we'll go to the Nifty because we want to compare it with the market. You know, and market we are considering as the Nifty right now. So let's go there, and again, you can directly, I guess, find the Nifty's historical price from here only. Okay, so I'm searching it in Yahoo Finance only, Nifty. Nifty 50. Nifty 50. किधर गई निफ्टी 50? आई नहीं अभी तक, बहुत भाव खा रही है निफ्टी 50. हाँ आ गई. And the historical data, in the same manner we had found that Reliance monthly prices. No, we'll be finding the historical data of Nifty on a monthly basis. So just go over there in the time period, just select the 6-month period from here. Let me just confirm it with the students that you are there with me till now. Otherwise some people would be doing hadu 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 और एकदम पीछे रह जाएंगे. Is everyone there with me till now, guys? All of you? Miss Hemali is with me, Miss Shreya as well. Good. जयदेव, अपना ये थियोरेटिकल बेरोटिकल मजा ही नहीं आता, सीधा जाके प्रैक्टिकल डेटा देखने,
Yes, sir.
उधर से ही काम करने का. Okay, thank you. Jaydev is also there with me. Let's go. Selecting the last 6 months, historical prices, yes, and converting into a monthly frequency, pressing the apply button there. So we have got the Nifty as well. Just like we had copied the Reliance, I'm copying this one as well. From the first to the last one, Control C. For copy, you have Control C everywhere. So I'm going there in a D numbers column, going to the paste spatial. Paste spatial, you may just have a right click and find the paste spatial. You may go to the home tab and from there you may find the paste spatial, or you may use the formula as well, Alt HVS. Sorry, shortcut, not the formula. The second one, Unicode text, pressing OK. So we have got for Nifty 2. Rest everything which is not required, we are just deleting that. Volume is not required, delete. These things are not required, delete. Even the date is not required because one time we have already taken the date, right? So delete. Let me just take it over here. In order to avoid the confusion, I am adding one more row where first I'm writing the date, then Reliance, and then Nifty. Giving the borders, थोड़ा सा मेकअप कर देते हैं, because if the gender of this data would be female तो उसको बुरा लग जाएगा मेकअप के बिना. हम में तो चलता है, ऐसे उठे उठे लेके थोबड़े लेके चले जाते हैं लोगों के सामने, क्योंकि हमारे में ज्यादा फर्क नहीं आता ना, मेकअप करो कि ना करो, वैसे के वैसे ही दिखने वाले हैं. Okay. We'll be converting that into a ascending order, you know, because see, we want it from January month. So I'm just selecting this data, then going to the home tab, then in a sort and filter, in sort and filter we'll go to the custom sort. Friends, in a custom sort, I'll select the column number first for the date. I want to arrange the column values from oldest to newest, right? Right now it is from newest to oldest. We want to convert it into oldest to newest. So this table is there with me, pressing OK. So we have got oldest to newest. Okay, let me insert one more column between B and C because we want to find the return there, that's why. Inserting the column. अच्छा, यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम ये हो गया क्योंकि हमें सिर्फ 5 महीने का ही रिटर्न मिलेगा, क्योंकि if you want to get the return for the 6th month, then you require the previous value of the last month as well, no? So it's anyway, we'll be finding it for only for the 5 months. So how do you get the return? Whatever the value you have got now, the new value minus old divided by old. That is the percentage of return you get, right? Very simple to understand. So new minus old divided by old. That is the monthly return you have got. Equal to, this is my new divided by, sorry, minus reduced by the old, that is B2, closing the bracket, and that is divided by the old, which is B2. So B3 minus B2 divided by B2. B2, pressing enter. Now do Control C and paste it over there. That is the return you have got in a decimal, because see here we have got the relative referencing. For the second one, it would be taking automatically for the second one. For the third one, it will take for the third one only. Let me convert that into percentage, and percentage as well will be taking it up to 4 digits in order to avoid any confusion. So these are the returns we have got from the Reliance in last 6 months, friends. Percentage of return. Similarly, we'll be doing it for the Nifty as well, equal to new minus old in a bracket to be divided by old. Control C and paste it over there at the downside, converting that as well into a percentage with 4 decimals. So my friend, you may assume that Reliance is more sensitive to Nifty in last 6 months. So obviously Reliance will have a greater beta as compared to Nifty, It will be more than 1. If it is lesser than 1, then you assume it like Reliance is less sensitive than Nifty. And why I'm saying that it would be more sensitive than Nifty, because see, in the February month, Nifty had given the return of 6.56%, against which the Reliance had given the return of 13.23%. So Reliance had outperformed the Nifty by 2 times in that month. You take the next month, where the return of Nifty was 1.11, which was very moderate return. In fact, there was no return only, but Reliance got down by 4%. So Reliance is moving quite faster. I told you that beta is a double-edged sword. If your stock is more volatile, then it is applicable at the upside movement too and at the downside movement as well, right? जब निफ्टी कुछ नहीं करेगा तो ये भाई सब बैठे बैठे 4% डाउन हो गए. Now there would be various reasons behind it, company specific reasons, sector specific reasons, economic specific reasons. Not going into that as of now, but as a business analytics students, right now we have got the data. और डेटा ही हमारे लिए भगवान होता है. जो हमारे दिया हुआ है उसमें से हम इंटरप्रेट करने की कोशिश करते हैं जितना भी हो. Similarly, if you take the May month, the return of Nifty was 6.50%, against which the return of Reliance was 8.31%. So this beta can be found by using the regression function. You can go to the data analysis and from there you may run the regression. Or there is one function which is a formula function called slope. Now Excel people calls it a slope. Statisticians and research methodology people calls it the regression coefficient. Finance people calls it a beta. હરી તારા નામ છે હજાર, પણ બધાનો મતલબ તો એક જ થાય છે. Let's go over there and use the slope function. I'm just writing beta of RIL. We have taken the data only of the 6 month. Huh? You may take the data of 1.5 years, 2 years. More and more data you take, more and more reliability you get. So what data, up to what extent it should be taken, that is again something where you will have to put your intellect. It is not a random selection. And you will have to justify your stand that why you have taken the data only for the 6 months while calculating this, if you are the registered valuer. Okay, equal to SLOPE, opening the bracket. Then it comes known Y's. Y's stands for the dependent variable. So what is the dependent? Reliance is dependent on Nifty. भैया निफ्टी तो मार्केट है, सबके पिताजी है, तो निफ्टी पूरा किसी एक से हिल नहीं सकता. निफ्टी इज consisting many other stocks as well. So dependent values, Y's would be taken as the Reliance values. I'm taking the returns of Reliance over here. All the returns I have found of Reliance, I'm taking that. The range of it, comma, to go to the next parameter of the syntax. The returns of Nifty, right from the first to the last one. These are my known X's, which are independent. You know, we assume that Nifty is independently functioning. Reliance is the dependent variable on the Nifty. Closing the bracket, pressing the enter. So we have got something. Now let me just convert that into number. Here it is in percentage. If we'll be converting that into a number, it would be better, because beta is generally written in a number. I'm just converting the font over here. So beta is 1.72. Instead of number, you will be instead of percentage, you will be converting that into number, 1.72. So what do I mean by that? That simply means that if the Nifty gives you 1% return, then Reliance will give you 1.72% return. As simple as that. मतलब Reliance है वो Nifty से बहुत ज़्यादा sensitive है. Some of the stocks would have 0.5 or 0.6 kind of the beta as well. That means they would be less sensitive to the Nifty. So 1.72 is a very good amount of sensitivity you get. So that is the beta you have got. Now see, I'll be expecting from the Reliance based on the market return, So what I do is, what my formula was, risk-free rate plus beta in bracket market rate of return minus risk-free rate. Now for the next month, if I want to expect some percentage of the return, now here we have taken monthly beta would be different from the yearly beta. Yearly beta might be different from the monthly beta. But we have taken monthly for just to understand the calculations behind it. Now assume that the risk-free rate we have got during this year was offered to you by, say, the government bonds, and government bonds had given you 8% per annum return, right? Now 8% per annum. Right now we are into a monthly calculation, so just divide that 8% by 12. So 0.08 divided by 12, that will be your risk-free rate on monthly basis. We are into a monthly calculations for the return. So risk-free rate would be equal to, let me just find that, what do we get? Equal to 0.08 divided by 12. So sir, we get 0.06667. That is my risk-free rate on a monthly basis. Right now I'm writing everything on a decimal. Plus beta. Beta of the Reliance you have got is 1.72. I'm writing 1.72. In bracket, rate of return from the market. Now, that may be the expected rate of return from the market, but you also set the expectations based on the historical performance, right? So, if you have some different mechanism to find the expected rate of return, there are obviously various different mechanisms as well. Then you may use that too. But you can also take the historical return given to you by the Nifty as the expected rate of return in the future. So I can take the average of all the returns I have got for the 5 months. That will be the expected rate of return from my side for the upcoming month on a monthly basis. So I'm just finding the average of all the returns of Nifty. That is my expected rate of return from the Nifty for the upcoming months. You may have the other parameters as well. Absolutely, no one is forcing you to do this only. But there is a rationale that if history repeats itself, in a finance, there is one statement which is referred quite a lot quite a lot many number of times. That is that history repeat itself in various arbitrage techniques and various advanced modeling. We have framed the models based on this fundamental principle, that history repeat itself. Anyway, let's move ahead. So we have got 2.744. If I convert that into a decimal, should be divided by 100. So I guess this should be 0.02744 minus the risk-free rate of the government bond. We are taking 0.00667, closing the bracket. So equal to 0.006667 plus 1.72. Just reduce this. What do we get in the bracket? Equal to 0.02744 minus 0.00667. ये क्या है? हाँ, so I get 0.020773. That is to be multiplied with the beta, right? So let's go there and multiply that with the beta, my friends. So equal to this multiplied by the beta, which is 1.72. So 0.00667 plus 0.03573 equal to, let's just add it up. So I get 0.042397. That is the expected rate of return from the Reliance Industries stock on a monthly basis from now onwards. Now, my friend, you can convert that into a percentage as well. So in percentage, it would be, I guess, 4.23 percentage. You may round it up to 4.24 percentage as well. Just multiply that with 100. Now, this is something which is a very extraordinary return on a monthly basis. You don't get it generally because there was a great downfall as well in 2020. We have just taken the last 6 months. That's why the returns are very good. Otherwise, you don't get such kind of returns in the stocks. In the last 6 months, the market have moved like anything. Once the vaccines were out and the uncertainties related to the corona and everything was fading out, after that, the markets have performed extraordinarily well. So that is the expected rate of return. That's why it's always advisable to take more number of periods to make the better judgments. 5 or 6 is not something which should be relied much. If you have many number of periods, you will be able to make better judgments. Now, why this would be useful to Reliance Industries Limited? See, Reliance Industries Limited will also be in the constant pressure to give some percentage of the return to its shareholders, right? They do not want to lose, they do not want to sacrifice the expectations of the shareholders. So they will be under a constant pressure to maintain their market price so that the equity shareholders gets the enough and sufficient returns. Otherwise, they will start losing the confidence on the company, and the market price may not go favorably high. May I have the confirmation that you have got till now CAPM practically, all of you? Confirmation through the chat box, please. Okay, Mr. Alan has got some work. Yes, you may leave now, Alan. Thank you. Others? Confirmation, please, all of you. Okay, received it from various students. Hemali, Gaurav, Veronica, Shreya, good. Dhruv. Okay, so that's it from my side. Please put your enrollment number. We have discussed the CAPM in the great detail. I don't think there is more focus required in that now. For other methods, we'll do it in the next session, and then we'll explore the cost of debt as well. That's it from my side. Bye-bye. Take care. Please put your enrollment number. Take care. Sayonara. Enjoy the rest of the day.